Welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. We're so glad you could join us today.
Yeah, it's great to be with you. We're diving into something really important for anyone thinking about retirement. Medicare Basics Explained for Beginners.
Absolutely. Medicare can often feel like a maze for many people, so we're here to break it down into manageable pieces.
Right, and understanding Medicare is crucial because it plays such a big role in your healthcare once you retire.
Exactly. We'll cover everything from the different parts of Medicare to how to enroll, and even some tips on avoiding common pitfalls.
Plus, we'll touch on some strategies to help you maximize your benefits and ensure that you have the coverage you need. It's all about making informed choices.
And don't worry if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. We're here to guide you through it step by step.
So whether you're just starting to think about retirement or you're already in the thick of it, this episode is packed with valuable insights.
Let's jump right in. Starting with the basics. What exactly is Medicare and who qualifies for it? David, can you shed some light on that?
So Emily, when we dive into Medicare basics, it's really important to understand why this is such a hot topic right now. I mean, with so many people approaching retirement, the timing couldn't be better.
Absolutely, David. I've heard so many people say they feel overwhelmed with all the options available, and with the economy being what it is, it makes sense to dig deeper into how Medicare fits into those plans, right?
Exactly. You know, a lot of folks are looking at their retirement timelines and thinking, okay, when can I actually retire? And Medicare plays a huge role in that decision. If you're approaching 65, you're probably starting to think about when to sign up and what coverage you really need.
Right, and let's not forget about inflation. Healthcare costs have been rising steadily, and that's a big concern for many retirees. I mean, just last year, we saw healthcare expenses increase by quite a bit, which can really eat into a retirement budget if you're not prepared.
Yeah, and I had a client, let's call her Susan, who didn't fully grasp how much of her retirement savings would go toward healthcare. She thought she'd be okay with just a basic Medicare plan, but when we sat down and looked at her needs, it became clear she needed a supplemental plan to cover those extra costs.
That's a great example. I think a lot of people don't realize that Medicare doesn't cover everything. It's crucial to understand what's included and what's not, especially when considering things like premiums, deductibles, and coinsurance.
Absolutely. And with market volatility being what it is lately, having a strong healthcare plan can really be a cushion. If the market dips and you're relying more on your investments for income, having predictable healthcare costs can alleviate a lot of stress.
Speaking of stress, I think the emotional aspect of financial security and retirement can't be overlooked. When people feel secure about their healthcare, they're more likely to enjoy their retirement. It's a huge weight off their shoulders.
Exactly, and it's not just about the numbers. I've seen clients who, once they lock in their Medicare plans, feel this sense of relief, like they can finally breathe. They know they're covered, and they can focus on enjoying their time, whether that's traveling or spending time with family.
Yes, and when we talk about legacy planning, having a solid understanding of Medicare can also impact how folks approach passing on their wealth. If they're burdened with unexpected medical costs, it can really eat into what they want to leave behind for their loved ones.
Very true. And with recent changes to Social Security, it's all interconnected. Some people might not realize that their benefits could be affected by how they manage their healthcare costs. So it's vital to have a comprehensive plan that considers all these moving parts.
Right, and with the current economic trends like rising interest rates and fluctuating markets, it's more important than ever to ensure that your retirement plan is tax efficient as well. It's not just about how much you earn, but how much you keep after taxes and expenses.
Yes, and I think there's a real opportunity here for people to reevaluate their plans. For instance, I had another client, let's call him Mike, who wanted to retire early but was worried about his healthcare costs. We worked through his Medicare options, and that clarity helped him feel secure enough to move forward.
That's inspiring. It's amazing how understanding these aspects can empower people to take those next steps. They realize that they can create a solid plan that aligns with their goals without constantly worrying about healthcare costs.
Exactly. And with all these factors in play, I think it's also a good time to remind listeners that they don't have to navigate this alone. There are resources and professionals out there who can help them make sense of everything.
Yes, that support can be invaluable, especially when there's so much information out there. But it starts with understanding the basics of Medicare. That foundation helps guide all other financial decisions in retirement.
Absolutely. And it's worth mentioning that as we move forward, it's crucial to stay informed about any changes to Medicare or healthcare policies. These can directly impact retirees, and being proactive can save a lot of headaches down the road.
Right, and with all the uncertainty around healthcare legislation, it can feel daunting. But those who take the time to understand their options will be in a much better position.
Spot on. And as we transition into discussing some core strategies for navigating Medicare and healthcare costs, it's important for listeners to keep in mind that planning isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing process, and reassessing your needs regularly is key.
Exactly, David. Let's dive into those strategies so we can help our listeners feel confident and prepared as they approach this significant phase in their lives.
So, Emily, when we talk about Medicare, it's essential to understand how it fits into your overall retirement plan, right? There's a lot to consider, especially when it comes to healthcare costs.
Absolutely, David. Healthcare can be one of the biggest expenses in retirement. I've read that some estimates say retirees might spend around $300,000 in out-of-pocket healthcare costs over their retirement. That's a huge number.
Yeah, it really is, and that's why it's critical to plan for Medicare properly. So for starters, let's break down the basics. Medicare has different parts. Part A, which covers hospital stays, and Part B, which covers outpatient care. Then there's Part D for prescription drugs, and also Medicare Advantage plans, which can combine these benefits.
Right, and it's important to understand that while Part A is usually premium-free if you've worked enough years, Part B does have a monthly premium. How does that fit into someone's budget?
Great question. The standard premium for Part B is around $170.10 per month, but it can vary based on your income. So if you're in a higher income bracket, you might pay more, which is something to keep in mind when planning your budget.
And that's where understanding your retirement income sources comes in handy, right? Like, if someone has a significant amount of income from investments or Social Security, that could impact their Medicare costs.
Exactly. Speaking of income, let's touch on how Social Security fits into this. Many retirees rely on Social Security as a significant part of their income, and it's important to optimize when you start taking those benefits.
I've heard that delaying Social Security can really pay off in the long run, right? Like, for every year you wait past your full retirement age, your benefit increases by about 8% until age 70.
That's correct. If you can afford to wait, it can really make a difference in your financial stability later in retirement. And remember, Social Security benefits are also adjusted for inflation, which helps protect your purchasing power over time.
So if someone is looking at their overall income strategy, they might want to consider how much they'll withdraw from their retirement accounts, like 401ks or IRAs, alongside their Social Security.
Exactly. This leads us to withdrawal strategies, which are crucial for ensuring your money lasts throughout retirement. The 4% rule is a commonly discussed guideline, where you withdraw 4% of your retirement savings each year.
Yeah, I've heard about that. It's kind of a way to balance enjoying your retirement, while also making sure you don't run out of money too soon, right?
Right. But it's not one size fits all. Depending on your lifestyle, health, and market conditions, it might make sense to adjust that percentage. Some people might use the bucket strategy, where they segregate their investments into different buckets for short-term and long-term needs.
Oh, I like that idea. So you could have one bucket for immediate expenses, maybe in cash or short-term bonds, and then another for longer-term growth, like stocks?
Exactly. The idea is to have a mix that allows you to take advantage of market growth while also having the liquidity you need for immediate expenses. This kind of diversification can help reduce risk while optimizing returns.
And speaking of diversification, it's also super important in your investment strategy, right? Like, a common rule of thumb is the 70-30 portfolio, 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds.
Yes, that's a popular allocation for someone who's still in the accumulation phase. But once you're retired, you might want to tilt that more towards bonds or fixed income to reduce volatility.
Definitely. And taxes come into play here too. Tax-advantaged accounts, like 401, KSS, and IRAs, can help you save on taxes now. But you have to consider the tax implications when you start withdrawing from them.
Very true. Required minimum distributions, or RMDs, kick in at age 72, and those can affect your taxable income, so planning for that is essential. You don't want to end up in a higher tax bracket because of unexpected withdrawals.
Speaking of taxes, let's not forget about Roth accounts. With a Roth IRA, you pay taxes up front, but your withdrawals are tax-free in retirement. That can be a great strategy for tax diversification.
Absolutely. Having a mix of tax-deferred and tax-free income sources can help you manage your tax liability in retirement. It gives you flexibility in how you withdraw funds, especially in years when your income might be higher than usual.
So to sum it up, having a well-thought-out financial plan that includes Medicare, Social Security, your withdrawal strategy, and investment diversification can make a big difference in your retirement experience.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about accumulating wealth, it's about how you manage and distribute it during retirement.
And that leads us to the common pitfalls people face when planning for retirement.
So Emily, one of the common pitfalls I see people fall into when planning for retirement is the sequence of returns risk. It's that idea that the order in which you experience investment returns can really impact your retirement savings.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you're withdrawing from your investments during a market downturn, it can really hurt your portfolio long term, right?
Exactly. I had a client, let's call him Tom. He retired right at the peak of the market in 2007, and then, well, you know what happened next. The market tanked. He was withdrawing funds for living expenses during that downturn, and it really set him back.
Oof, that's tough. Did he have a strategy in place to manage that?
Not really, unfortunately. He wasn't prepared for those fluctuations and didn't have a diversified enough portfolio. It's crucial to have a mix of investments that can withstand market volatility.
Right, so how can someone spot that red flag early on?
Well, a good indicator is looking at your withdrawal strategy. If you're planning to take consistent withdrawals, you should have a cushion, like cash reserves or stable investments, to help during downturns.
That makes total sense. What about taxes? I've heard that's another area where retirees can trip up.
Absolutely. A lot of folks underestimate the tax implications of their withdrawals. For instance, I had a couple, let's call them Jane and Mark. They figured they could just take out what they needed from their IRAs without thinking about the tax impact.
And that didn't work out well for them, I assume.
Right, they ended up in a higher tax bracket than they expected, which meant they paid more taxes than necessary. It's important to think about tax-efficient withdrawal strategies, like considering which accounts to draw from first.
So should they be looking at things like their Roth IRAs versus traditional IRAs?
Exactly. Roth IRAs can be a great tool because withdrawals are tax-free. If you're strategic about it, you can minimize your tax burden in retirement.
That's really helpful advice. What about healthcare costs? I think a lot of people underestimate those too.
Oh, for sure. I had a client. Let's call her Susan. She thought she'd be fine with basic Medicare coverage, but she didn't account for the out-of-pocket costs, especially for medications and long-term care.
That must have been a surprise for her.
It was. She ended up having to dip into her savings much more than she planned. Healthcare can be one of the biggest expenses in retirement, and it's vital to plan for it.
So what can people do to prepare for that?
Start by estimating your healthcare costs. Look into supplemental plans, or long-term care insurance if it makes sense for your situation. It's better to have a plan in place than to be caught off guard.
Makes total sense. Now, I've also heard about people claiming Social Security too early. Is that a common mistake?
Yes, it really is. I had a client named Bill who claimed at 62 because he thought he needed the income right away. But he didn't realize that by claiming early, he was reducing his monthly benefit for the rest of his life.
That's a tough lesson. What are the factors that people should consider before making that decision?
Well, you really need to evaluate your health, your financial situation, and your other income sources. It's often better to wait, if you can, to increase your benefits.
And those benefits can add up over time, right?
Exactly. Delaying can increase your benefit by as much as 8% per year until age 70. That's significant.
Wow. That's a big incentive to wait. What about asset allocation?
That's another critical piece. Many retirees don't adjust their portfolios as they age. I had a couple, let's call them Carol and Steve, who were still heavily invested in stocks in their late 60s.
Oh no, did they face any consequences because of that?
Yes, they experienced significant losses during a market downturn. They hadn't shifted to a more conservative allocation, which is typically recommended as you get closer to or enter retirement.
How can someone ensure they're managing their asset allocation effectively?
Regularly reviewing your portfolio is key. Make adjustments based on your risk tolerance and time horizon. It's important to align your investments with your retirement goals.
So it sounds like there are a lot of moving parts to retirement planning.
Absolutely, and the earlier you start thinking about these elements, the better. It's all about being proactive rather than reactive.
That's a great point. So if someone finds themselves in one of these situations, what are the next steps they can take?
First, get a comprehensive review of your financial situation. A financial advisor can help you identify any gaps in your plan and recommend adjustments.
And it's never too late to make changes, right?
Exactly. Even if you've made some missteps along the way, there are always strategies to help you recover. It's about being informed and making adjustments moving forward.
Great advice, David. It's all about staying educated and proactive in your planning.
Yes, and remember, retirement is a journey, not a destination. You can always adapt your plan to fit your needs.
That's such a reassuring thought. All right, with that in mind, let's transition to our next steps, shall we?
Absolutely. Let's dive into how to put what we've discussed into action. All right, Emily, let's dive into some immediate steps our listeners can take right now to get a better grip on their Medicare options.
Absolutely. It can feel overwhelming, but breaking it down into actionable steps really helps.
For starters, I'd recommend checking out Medicare's official website at medicare.gov. It's got a ton of resources, including a guide to understanding the different parts of Medicare.
Yeah, and they also have a tool called the Plan Finder that can help you compare different plans based on your specific needs. It's super helpful.
Right, and if you're looking for retirement planning calculators, sites like Vanguard, Fidelity, and Schwab offer really user-friendly tools. You can run projections based on your current savings and see how they might grow over time.
Those tools are great for visualizing your retirement journey. And, it's a good habit to review your portfolio quarterly.
Absolutely. Regular check-ins can help you stay on track and make adjustments if needed. Plus, running retirement projections every few months can really keep you informed about your financial health.
Another useful resource is the Social Security Administration's website, ssa.gov. They have calculators for estimating your benefits, which can be a game changer when planning your overall retirement income.
Definitely. And let's not forget about tax software. Using tools like TurboTax or H&R Block can simplify your tax planning, especially as you approach retirement. Understanding how your retirement income will be taxed is crucial.
Yes, and speaking of understanding, there are some excellent books out there that can really broaden your knowledge. The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey is a classic for overall financial health.
Oh, for sure. And How Much Money Do I Need to Retire by Todd Tresider provides some great insights on retirement planning specifically.
And don't overlook podcasts. There are some fantastic ones like the Retirement Answer Man and the Money Guy Show that cover a wide range of topics.
Exactly. They can be such a valuable source of information, especially when you're multitasking or on the go.
Right. And as you absorb this information, it's important to start small. Maybe set a goal to review your expenses or adjust where you invest a little more.
That's a great point. You don't have to do everything at once. Just taking one small step can lead to significant improvements over time.
Yeah, and even if you're already retired, it's never too late to improve your plan. Regularly assessing your financial situation can help you adapt to changes in health or lifestyle.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about using financial planning apps. Apps like Mint or Personal Capital can help you track your spending and investments in real time.
Those are super user-friendly too. Plus, they provide a holistic view of your finances, which is so important.
And setting up alerts for financial milestones can also help keep you on track, whether it's for contributions to your retirement accounts or adjusting your investment strategy.
Oh, and don't forget to connect with a financial advisor if you can. They can offer personalized advice tailored to your unique situation.
Yes, having that expert guidance can really make a difference. And remember, it's all about building a plan that works for you.
Exactly. So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together.
Well, as we wrap up this episode, let's summarize some key takeaways from our discussion on Medicare basics.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, understanding the different parts of Medicare, Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D is crucial. They each cover different aspects of your healthcare needs, right?
Exactly. And knowing when to enroll is super important too. Missing that initial enrollment period can lead to penalties, which nobody wants.
Right. And I think another big point we touched on is the importance of reviewing your coverage every year. Your health needs can change, and so can the plans.
Yes, and let's not forget about the financial aspect. Understanding your costs, like premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket expenses, helps you budget better for retirement.
For sure. And finally, it's essential to explore supplemental insurance options if original Medicare doesn't cover everything you need. It can really fill in those gaps.
Absolutely. These are all vital pieces of the puzzle when it comes to managing healthcare and retirement. Remember, building and protecting your retirement wealth includes planning for healthcare costs too.
That's such a great point. It's all about being proactive and informed. So, if you found this episode helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below with your biggest takeaway or any questions you have.
And don't forget to share this episode with someone who's planning for or already in retirement. The more we can spread this knowledge, the better prepared everyone will be.
Next time, we'll dive into an interesting topic, lean fire versus fat fire. It's a fascinating discussion about different approaches to financial independence.
Yeah, it's going to be a great conversation. We can't wait to share that with you.
Until then, take care and keep planning for that bright retirement future.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.